Moving on to the hot water scheduling type, they can be broken down into these three different types here. We've got reheat, which is a 24-hour domestic hot water schedule that's triggered by a predetermined temperature drop in the cylinder, which can be changed on the unit. So for our example here, the cylinder is set to a set point of 48 degrees, but will not recharge the cylinder until it drops below 38 degrees. This is a really good option if you just want a guaranteed background heat, so perhaps have it at a lower set point running in the background, or if you've got a very sporadic hot water use and you just want to maintain that cylinder at a high temperature or a recharge temperature 24 hours a day, and you can obviously alter the set point and the temperature drop to suit. So perhaps you're trying to cover a secondary return that's dropping the cylinder temperature, for example, that might be useful. Scheduled, that's just a traditional domestic hot water timer schedule. So for example, that may be twice a day, set point at 50 degrees, which you can actually preset on a Daikin unit. You can set a comfort set point, a reheat set point, and an eco set point. So you can choose whichever one of those you want during the day. Reheat and scheduled is a combination of the two. This is commonly how we initially set up the system, especially if there is no homeowner while the unit is being commissioned. There's no homeowner actually on site to be able to help us determine their hot water usage. So this will combine a couple of set points each day, so they wake up to a guaranteed temperature each day. The danger with just leaving it on reheat is they could wake up to a cylinder that's just in need of being recharged before the family starts using it. So this way guarantees a set point each morning or evening, however you time it, and then you can have a background temperature of say 45 degrees just to ensure that the cylinder is always warm. Secondary returns, very important that this is paid close attention to. If there's a secondary return pump on the system, it will need to be set so that it's running as minimally as possible. The secondary return pump puts a substantial drain on the stored domestic hot water temperature and cause frequent reheating of the cylinder. Domestic hot water usage should be discussed, and then the schedule for the secondary return pump built around this. Got to remember that as hot water takes priority over heating, it's crucial that it has time to keep up with the heating demands and is not being frequently pulled away to satisfy the domestic hot water. So you could be in a scenario where you've got a secondary return that's constantly requiring the cylinder to reheat if you've got a small hysteresis value before it's recharged, and it's constantly having to go back and do the hot water and recharge it and work hard doing that. And number one, that's costing you more money, and number two, it's ignoring the heating duty that may be required of it. And it's also important when we're doing the scheduling to remember to stagger that domestic hot water schedule away from the heating demand. So if you've got a heating demand at 6 a.m, you don't want your hot water demand at 6 a.m. as well. You want that at least an hour and a half earlier so that it can completely regenerate the cylinder. So remember to stagger those appropriately. Disinfection. Due to the lower stored temperatures, the air source heat pump is programmed to disinfect the cylinder from Legionella once a week. The process works by using the immersion on a Daikin. Some other heat pumps have higher set points and can disinfect it by themselves, but the Daikin units on the low temp units only go to around 52 degrees, so it may need the immersion. On the higher temp units, it will be able to do that by itself. During this process, it is important to ensure that the immersion remains switched on. The immersion won't be permanently on. The Daikin unit has a contactor inside and it decides when to use the immersion and brings that in. So you just need to leave a live feed to the immersion on the Daikin and it will decide when to use it. The secondary return pumps need to be switched off during this disinfection process because it can prevent it from completing due to the temperature drain that it has on the cylinder. One final thing to remember with units that do have a limited domestic hot water stored temperature is to inform your homeowner of that temperature to ensure that they do not set their hot water above what the heat pump is capable of, because the immersion will then automatically be brought in to do that. So you could have a worst case scenario of the homeowner trying to achieve a 60-degree domestic hot water stored temperature with a Daikin heat pump that can go to a maximum of 52, so it will use the immersion for the last 8 degrees. And then a double whammy if you have a secondary return acting at that point. More than likely it will never be able to satisfy the cylinder, so your immersion will be running and your heat pump will permanently be trying to chase the set point for the cylinder and not be able to achieve it, resulting in very high running costs.